Okay. And boop. So, all right. How you doing today?
Hi,
I'm
nice to meet
Frigerator.
you.
Nice to meet you as well. And so, thank you for stopping by the Strap House Custom booth here at the Atlanta Gun Show. And what we're going to do today is just a little bit of a safety demonstration using some of my dry fire products from a company that supports me, Mantis Tech. All right, Mantis Tech has a dry fire product that helps us train and become more proficient with our firearms right in our own house by using motion detection technology, okay? And so before we get into all that, we're just going to start out with some general firearm safety, all right? And so we're going to talk about the universal safety rules, all right? Number one is that we're going to treat all firearms as they're loaded pretty much all the time, right? So we've got a couple of different options here. We've got our plastic pistol, we've got a CO2 powered BB gun, and then we also have an actual real Smith & Wesson Shield EZ, and we're going to kind of work through some of those things there, right? But no matter what, we're going to treat them all as if they're real firearms. We want to treat them as if they're loaded, right? The purpose of that is so that it kind of makes us follow along with these other rules, okay? And then number two is going to be never point the firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy, right? So even though we're going to be practicing, even though eventually when you get your firearm, you may want to manipulate it, without any bullets, and that's what dry fire is. Anytime you're working with a firearm that doesn't have live ammunition, it's called dry fire, right? And so that's, and so good, cool. So I'm glad. That's, we love to teach new things, so. That's when you get your firearm, that's just a good way to become more proficient, understanding how it operates, learning how to do things with it, like what we're going to do today, okay? All right, and then number three is my favorite, is keep your finger off the trigger. Until you're ready to actually fire it, right? So most modern firearms are not going to fire unless the trigger's actually pulled, right? Now, it's possible you can pull the trigger by mistake. It's possible that, depending on how you're storing it, if it's in your pocketbook and it doesn't have anything to cover the trigger, you may go to pull your keys out and the keys could get, wrapped around the trigger. So it's important to have something that covers that trigger, and that's something we can kind of talk about, later on, right?
Okay.
And then number four is, always be aware of your target and what's around it, right? So how that relates to real life, and you're in a self-defense situation, maybe there's someone threatening you, potential threat, but there could be innocent people all around, right? It could be innocent people behind them, you know what I mean? It could be innocent people to the side of them. So you want to make sure that when you're aiming your firearm, you kind of keep that in mind. So for us here today at the gun show, we have this wall right here that we're going to be aiming at this particular target from our friends at Double Tap Coalition. It's a great target because it shows you the actual insides of the human body, and you can see why it's going to be important to kind of aim in this particular area, right? And so on the other side of this wall, there should be no other gun show participants. It's in an area where it's kind of closed off to the public, all right? And so again, we know our firearms are not going to have any live ammunition, but we just want to always kind of keep that in mind, right? And so a bonus, which I say is number 5, is a bonus. Never try to catch a falling firearm. You catch like this, we pull triggers like this. So it's very easy to actually, as you're trying to catch the gun, you could pull the trigger by mistake. And most guns, like I said, are going to be drop safe. As long as the trigger's not, you could take it, load it, throw it across the room, and as long as the trigger doesn't get actuated, it's not going to go off, okay? Did you have any other questions?
No,
it's pretty cool. All right, cool.
Not currently.
All right, cool. And then so the next thing we're going to talk about is how to actually pick up a firearm. So we're going to come up a little closer to the table here, right? And so what we're going to use is this particular plastic firearm right here, and it is just modeled after a Glock 19, but it's really a solid piece of plastic, right?
Okay. Cool.
And so what I like to say, I've heard from another instructor, and a lot of instructors say this, to pick up a gun, you're going to make a gun. So just make that L shape, right? And you are right-handed?
Yeah, I am right.
Okay, good. I forgot to ask that. All right. So we're going to take that right hand and then place down over the firearm and let our finger go underneath the bottom. And that's pretty much the grip that you want to have with your primary hand. Okay. And again, keeping the finger off the trigger, so you're going to be very exaggerated with that, right?
Okay.
So we start up here, because if we're talking and we get comfortable and the finger kind of goes further and further, then now you're here, right?
Okay.
Whereas if you start here and that same thing happens, now you're on the trigger.
I got
right.
you.
So
Okay.
we'll be very intentional with that. And when you train with me in the range, that's one of my very big sticking points. So I'll be always on you on that. Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead and make that L.
Make the L.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, and so when we pick it up, we want to kind of have it
Right here.
right up here. You want to get as much of this space gone as possible.
Okay.
So try to come, there you go.
Oh,
so
okay.
you want it, most of these firearms or handguns are going to have this what's called a beaver tail, and it just protects the back of your hand from it kind of sliding, right? So you want it as tight up in there again, but not so much that, like for me, I've got big hands, right? So if I get too high, right? So yeah, you kind of, because all that's going to move. So you want it just as tight as you can, but not so much that it's kind of bulging over.
Okay.
So you had did a good job on that. Okay, great.
Right here.
Okay, and so go ahead and relax. Yep, just like that. Right, and the next thing I want to say, with your left hand, make like a karate chop, like you finna just chop somebody over the head, right? Okay. And so what we're going to do is take this part of your palm, right, and I'm just kind of show it to the camera, this part of your palm, and we're going to place it in this empty space right here. Okay, so just like this. Yep, and bring this knuckle up.
This knuckle.
Yep, so it's touching. And I'm gonna come on the other side here and take a good look. Yep, perfect. And relax that thumb and just kind of put it right there. Right, and so what we're trying to do is get those thumbs so that they're kind of like fitting together like that.
Like
right?
This.
Yep, and so what that does is we want to eliminate all of that space. Right?
Okay.
Cool. And keep that finger down to just below that slide, because it's going to move, right? And you can kind of feel it's got little grooves and stuff like that, certain parts on it that are going to kind of help you. You know, as you get your particular firearm and we go more into depth with your firearm, you'll notice that your fingers kind of end up in the same place and you'll feel these little parts and pieces, right? Okay, great. And so let's back up a little bit from the table.
Put it down on it.
No. We're going to keep holding it. All right. But what we're going to do now is talk about sight alignment and sight picture. Okay, sight alignment is, these are your sights. All right, this is the rear sight, this is the front sight. Most firearms are going to have some kind of combination of this, right? And it'll have an empty space here and this front sight. And what you want to do is put, as you look through this space, to see this front sight, right? So it's almost kind of like, it'll be like that, right? Okay, and what you want to do is you want to have equal height between the front and the rear sight.
Okay.
All right, and then you want to have even space on either side as you look through that space. Okay. And now let me ask you this, and you can relax.
Okay.
All right. What do you know? Which eye is more dominant? Like if you.
This one.
This one. Okay. So your right eye. Right-handed people are usually more right eye dominant. Yeah. So what we can do is we can actually close your left eye, and then use your right eye to look right down those sights. Okay.
So I actually got my hand placed.
Yep. Yep. Good. Yep.
All right.
And then close your left eye. And look, and you should be able to look right, exactly, okay? And then, so what we're gonna do is, we're gonna back up a little bit more. Back up a little bit more to about right here. Okay? And what I want you to do is use that, stay in front of the target here. Which, in real life, you know, you may not always be able to be right perpendicular with the target, so that's fine. But, so go ahead and present the gun. That's what we call it when we press it out, right? And so, you wanna be able to look through here to see the front sight. Right, you want to focus on the front sight. Put this front sight right here on this 0. Yep.
I got to hold it up a little bit.
Yeah, you got to hold it up a little bit. I posted the target a little higher this week. All right.
I'm short anyway.
That's quite all right. And so that's kind of the thing, right? And so what you do is the rear sight's blurry, the target's blurry. The front sight is what you're kind of focusing on. Okay. Right. And so that's the kind of the thing with the iron sights. Now you can relax a little bit. Now the next kind of from iron sights are red dot. The purpose of a red dot is allow you to stay target focused. So with this, you kind of have to really focus on the front sight. Sometimes you can lose sight of the target. With the red dot, unfortunately, I don't have one that we can kind of demonstrate that with. But as we go further in your journey, you'll get to experience that. Live fire on the range, and it allows you to just kind of keep your eye on the target versus kind of having to stay focused like that. All right, so go ahead, do me a favor and press back out again. Okay, yep. That's all good. All right, and what I want to talk about is kind of now your stance.
My stance.
So you want kind of like an athletic stance. Bend your knees a little bit and kind of have a forward lean. Yeah, because what's going to happen when you shoot the gun is going to go like this. So if you're standing straight up, next thing you know, you're going to be leaning back. So yeah, you want to kind of get aggressive and kind of get on top of it a little bit, so to say. Right. All right. And how does that feel?
That feels good.
Feels good? Okay, great. All right, so we can take, I'm going to take this.
Okay.
All right. And now what we're going to move into is the actual training portion here which I forgot my Mantis works on the same phone that I use to film.
Oh, okay.
All right, so basically what this does is it basically uses motion detection, right? This little piece right here, and it connects via Bluetooth to your phone.
Okay.
And there's an app on the phone that basically analyzes your movement. So as you go to pull the trigger, and it slides right on any Picatinny rail. Any gun that has a Picatinny rail.
Okay.
All right, and it just slides on like that. And we turn it on. All right, and then that's how you know it's on.
Okay,
and then from here we'll connect to the app.
Okay.
All right. And then what it does is, as you go to shoot, right? As you go to shoot, it measures your movement.
Okay.
So ideally, when you're pulling the trigger, you want to keep the gun as still as possible. That's what's going to help make sure that it goes where you're aiming.
Okay.
But what happens sometimes we anticipate, so we might kind of go like this, we might go like this. Some people go like to the left or to the right. And so what it does is it uses that motion to analyze and tell you what you could do better.
Okay.
You'll get a score between 0 and 100.
Okay.
100 meaning you're 100% accurate.
Okay.
Right, okay. And so that's going to be it. So unfortunately, like I said, we're not able to use the app because the app is actually on the phone with camera we're recording with, but that's okay. It doesn't change us going forward.
Right.
So let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to sit the gun just like this. And so remember how you pick it up. Make that L.
Okay.
Okay.
Like that.
All right.
Yeah. Grabbing it.
Yep.
I got
That's
that.
fine. Yep.
Okay.
And use your hand, support hand. Good job. Right. And then I'm going to come on this side and just double check. All right, and I really like this grip. Okay, the only thing that I'm going to change a little bit, right? So this gun is a little special. This gun has a grip safety here and an external safety here. Right? So what we want to do is make sure we have a good tight grip over here so that it actually pushes that in. And then, well, for you, it might not be as important because your fingers are a little bit smaller. So for me, because my fingers are so big, and you can let go. I'm going to show you for me. Right, see how big my fingers are?
Oh, yeah.
So when I shoot, it goes on safe.
Okay.
So for me, I have to kind of come over the top, right, versus under the bottom.
Okay.
Okay, and so for you, it may not be as big of a deal. But again, I'm going to go ahead and let you pick that up the right way.
Okay.
There we go.
And now we're
All
going
right.
here.
Yep.
There.
All right, cool. And you see right here? You feel that?
The groove.
Yep, and you feel that with your thumb?
Yeah.
That's how you can kind of get that muscle memory so that your hands kind of go in the same place every time.
Gotcha.
All right, and so we're going to bring this hand back to fill in that space. Kind of, there we go, just like that. Perfect. So you see how that's kind of perfectly, and it covers up all of the gun.
Okay.
Right? Okay, great. And so with this one again, we've got the iron sights. Get your stance. Yep, there you go. All right.
Forward.
And then, so with this one, you've got the 3 dots. So you got the white dots and the one in the front.
Okay.
So the principle is still the same. You want them all in one straight line, and you want them to be even space on either side. Okay? And then, when you're ready.
I think I like that.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so this is the Smith & Wesson Shield EZ. So the Shield EZ is one of my favorite firearms, especially for beginners, because it has a lot of features, right? So it's got a trigger, of course. This is the mag release. This is the takedown lever that allows you to maintenance it. This is with the slide release or slide catch. It actually helps to stop the slide as you pull it back, right?
Okay.
And then this is the external safety we talked about, on and off, and then this grip safety, right? And so because of all those safety features, right, so trigger doesn't actuate if this isn't pushed.
That's a push. Okay.
So if I push that in, right, we heard it fire, right?
Right.
Okay. And then this safety, no matter what, I got everything gripped in, it's not gonna go off, okay? And so for some people, the safety is good, and for some people the safety is bad, right? So
Depending on how they
depending on how you shoot and depending on what you're using it for. So I know you've got your daughter, right? So for someone that has kids and stuff like that, maybe it is to have that external safety. It's just a little bit better, right? But for some, if you're carrying every day and you go to, to interact with a threat, you go to pull the gun out of your holster and get the safety off and all that stuff. So that's why some people say, no safety, external safety is better. But even though most firearms that don't have an external safety have other safeties that's built inside of it that keep it from firing without pulling the trigger.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so all right, we're gonna make sure that the gun is ready to shoot. Okay, And so I'm gonna give it back to you like that, so we
Okay, then we
can
do
practice
the
picking it up every time.
Yeah.
Yep, good job.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And the groove.
Yep, right there. Perfect, right? So now, what I want you to do, get your stance. All right, and then point right at that 0. And that is the heart-lung area, right? And so if we're dealing with a threat, someone that's threatening our life or our family's lives, we want to put the round somewhere that's going to be effective, right? So that's why we kind of aim there, not at the head, not at the leg, nothing like that, right? Right in that vital organ area. Okay? So when you're ready, let's go ahead and put a shot on the target.
Okay.
All right, so hold on, we're going to go back with here. Yep, there you go. Perfect, just like that. Okay, great. And then whenever you're ready, finger on the trigger. Yep, right there on the tip of your finger. Perfect. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, pull the trigger. Good job.
And then it went a little down. So
It did. See, you even saw that already, right? So, that's something that we know that we can work on. But again, once we finish filming, I'll show you here how it actually works in the app. And then you'll see how it kind of helps you get better, because not only does it give you like a score from 0 to 100, it actually then tells you, okay, what you do, right? So we saw that it dipped down. The app will show you that, and it will show you how to kind of overcome that.
Okay.
All right.
If that does happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so did you have any other questions or
No,
any
you
comments?
explained it very thoroughly for me to understand, especially like for a basic learner as far as learning about the firearms and stuff like that, and other additions that you can add to the gun.
All right. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And we look forward to continuing helping you on your firearm journey.
Thank you so much.
All right.